Let's begin with this indemnity scheme announced last night by National Cabinet. So anyone under the age of 60 can get the AstraZeneca jab after speaking to their GP. Do you think that this is a step to getting more Australians vaccinated?
Well, I think it's a desperate attempt by the Prime Minister to deflect from the fundamental problem that we've got here in Australia, is that we don't have enough vaccines, that Greg Hunt and Scott Morrison failed to do their job 12 months ago in ensuring a supply of vaccine. And if you're an Australian under 60 at the moment, you've got to be shaking your head and scratching it, because just 10 days ago, the government said we're concerned enough over the side effects of AZ to say don't give it to people under the age of 60. And doctors, knowing this problem, are now demanding that they be given, legal indemnity in case something goes wrong. This is a government that has incompetently managed this vaccine rollout. It's desperate for any stunt. Any national security cabinet was a big story yesterday. Then he called an emergency cabinet meeting to announce effectively nothing. You didn't need any of these stunts.
Well, do you think, though, that it now comes down to a very broad and strong public awareness campaign? Because, as you said, up until a week ago, the advice was over 60s. But the point is that the risk of getting a blood clot is so low. So do we need to create public awareness about this now?
Well, they should have been running a campaign. I mean, doctors' groups, anybody in the advertising sector has been trying to say to this lead-footed government, where's your national public advertising campaign to support the rollout? And the truth is, they don't want to do one, because if they create the demand, if people suddenly went, oh, that's a great campaign, look, let's go and get vaccinated, they can't actually supply enough vaccine. Don't forget, they opposed the mass hubs at first. States said, we'll do them. And again, all of the reasons behind this is because they didn't get enough vaccine ordered over the last 12 months. This is incompetence. And now we're starting to see the fruits of this incompetence. We've got capital cities in lockdown again. Borders likely to be slammed shut in the very near future. And we're seeing disturbing reports of the new Delta variant infecting children. And we have no plans in this country to vaccinate children yet. And the long-term effects are starting to be seen in studies from overseas. So this is a government that has incompetently managed the rollout and is now prepared they'll stand a general up with a nice, pretty uniform on to try and deflect and hide. So this is a government that is now desperate.
Do you think,
because it has completely stuffed up the vaccine.
Do you think, though, that these lockdowns that we are seeing across Australia is just going to be a natural effect of the case that we are living in a pandemic? And even last night, the Prime Minister said that even if we do reach herd immunity, we will continue to have these intermittent lockdowns.
Well, I mean, the Prime Minister's gone from, bitterly attacking any state Labor government that's been involved in lockdown to now, the New South Wales Liberal government, that's fine. We're going to have more national lockdowns. That's fine. I mean, this is a bloke that plays politics at every step of the way. Instead of doing his core job, 2 jobs is all he's had. 2 jobs. Set up a national quarantine system where this problem is coming from, because he hasn't, and get us some vaccine so we can get vaccinated. The only 2 ways out. He has stuffed this up. He'll have more press conferences, more announcements. There'll be, another 10,000 Pfizer vaccines turning up. They'll be holding press conferences. All of that is about deflecting from their responsibility, Morrison and Hunt's responsibility for this debacle.
Just finally, I want to ask you, Stephen Conroy, aged care workers now have to get a COVID vaccine. Do you support that decision? Is it the right step?
Well, I think what we've seen is the transmission across aged care centres. I mean, I think we're now getting close finally, 4 months late, for getting the residents vaccinated. The next step has got to be the aged care workers, because don't forget, even when you're vaccinated, you can still pass this virus on. So we need all of the aged care workers, the frontline workers. We need people to be following the rules. I mean, the New South Wales gold standard has collapsed underneath the hype, and we're seeing Australians now put at risk. We're seeing Australians' livelihoods put at risk because we haven't got a Don't forget, Scott Morrison promised all Australians would be vaccinated in March. I mean, seriously, remember that promise. And now we've got lockdowns, we've got economic chaos, and we need everybody, not just frontline workers and aged care workers, but that's a big step forward.
Absolutely. All right, Stephen Conroy, we have to leave it there. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good to talk.